Welcome to another episode of the Inspired Love, Life, and Business podcast. In this episode, I'm going to go over 5 things that I've learned getting to 34 years old that has really helped me to feel so much lighter and release all of the negative energy that I have brought with me over the years. As I continue to learn, it gets easier and easier. And I'll share with you the 5 most important things that has helped me to just become a more easygoing person and enjoy life so much more. So if you're interested, please join me in this episode and I will see you over there. Life is full of surprises, excitement, joy, and struggles, but you don't have to do any of it alone. Welcome to the Inspired Love, Life, and Business podcast. My name is Minden, mama to almost 3 incredible children. I'm a major cheerleader and contributor to my tribe, and I'm a lover of all things positive, creative, and inspiring. I love the 3s too, as you can imagine. Join me as I discover and share new and powerful ways to be inspired through stories of hope, courage, and love. We'll get to know some amazing people in my circle and have conversations with powerful, dominating in their fields and specialties. And I can't promise that you're going to leave without shedding a tear or feeling so ready to start living the life of your dreams. All right, are you ready? Let's get inspired. Hey. Welcome to another episode of the Inspired Love, Life, and Business podcast. Today, it's going to be a more general conversation about life and really just how to live a more easygoing, peaceful, and positive life. And it comes along with the territory of being in my 30s, what I've recognized, what I talk to my friends about, and just how we perceive things. I remember growing up thinking such judgmental thoughts about everyone. And it's not just me, but most of the people around me. That's just how life was. I know that's how I was raised. That's how my family was. And it sticks with you. A lot of times you'll end up doing it without even thinking about it. It comes very easily to completely judge people you see on TV, people you hear on the radio, but then it also bleeds into people you see in real life and then people you know, the gossip mill and everything around you just seems to be this thing that you feel like you need to comment on or have an opinion about. And the reality is, as I get older, I'm just learning that's not necessarily the case. And life ends up being so much easier when you realize you live your life, enjoy the life you have, show gratitude, and that's it. What anyone else does is irrelevant and has nothing to do with your life. When it does, you can address it separately, but when it doesn't, there's no need to think about it. It just ends up taking up space. It ends up taking up energy, and it can really bog your mind and totally weigh you down. So some things I've learned just being in and around so many other people is everyone has a different way of handling things, a different way of dealing with things. And one of those things is everyone has seasons. When you recognize that you yourself have seasons in which you are thriving, seasons in which you just need a break, seasons in which you're learning and you're growing, seasons in which you're stepping back to breathe and not take in so much information and acknowledging that that's okay. It's very powerful when you give yourself that sense of peace and knowing that not every single day has to be a day full of learning and full of growth, full of expectations. Then you can give that same amount of grace to everyone around you. And I promise you, it makes you feel so much lighter and it's so wonderful. So recognizing that there are seasons in life, not just in the year, But again, in the way that you live your life, it may be a season of a month, a season of a couple of months. The time is irrelevant. It's just how you feel and how you move about life and how you go with the flow that makes sense and feels natural to you. Of course, there are people who are your alphas, your D's, as they say, where they're constantly on the go. They're constantly doing their best. They're OCD, and that's fine. Some people are like that. It's rare, but sometimes that is the case. And then there are people who haven't figured themselves out. And so they have a really long span of the season of trying to figure things out. It's different for everyone. But again, recognizing that everyone has their own seasons, everyone has their own stories is really important, in just allowing other people grace and not jumping into judgments. And again, letting yourself go of making up these stories or creating these ideas for other people who you have just met or who you see regularly online or you see in the media, right? It's one thing to take in information. It's another to really hold on to that information and then make it your own. So I've learned understanding and being graceful and allowing people to live their seasons and not getting so involved in it all has kept me at peace and allowed me to just live my life and enjoy it and be empathetic and understanding when someone comes to me with information or I come upon information about other people. So that's one thing I've learned. Another thing I've learned is the instant idea that I know exactly what's going on when I hear something that does happen, whether in the media or about another person, the assumption that what I've gone through is exactly what they've gone through, and understanding what projection is has been huge as well. Just because I hear someone experiencing something does not mean in any way that they are going through exactly what I went through, even if it's something similar. And I've learned that in those instances, it's so much more important to sit back and listen and ask questions than it is to make assumptions and try to provide advice. So the whole idea behind this is, when I come upon information, I listen, I take it in. And then in the event that this person who, if they are coming to me, is asking for advice, then I share and I give it. Otherwise, I don't, because in most cases, people just letting things get off their chest by sharing is powerful enough in itself. You being there to be a listening ear is so appreciated in so many ways. And you don't have to have the answers. People don't go to other people expecting them to have answers unless it's like a therapist, a counselor, a coach, right? Specific people. But if you yourself are not one and you're there for a friend or you're there for a coworker or you're there for a peer, they're not looking for answers. They just want to share. They want to get things off of their chest, or maybe they just want, as my best friend always says, a sounding board. They just want to be able to let it out. So that's another thing I've learned, is just to not instantly assume that you know what someone wants or you know what someone's been through just because they're sharing a part of their story. And that also really ties into the fact of the first thing I learned, in which the instant judgment and the letting go and understanding that people have seasons, it all plays really well into each other. And again, brings you peace when you just allow people to open up, allow them to let go and vent on matters that might have been heavy for them, right? Just being there means so much for most people. So understanding there are seasons, giving people grace, giving yourself grace, not automatically jumping to assumptions and then thinking you know, or giving advice or providing helpful hints where they're not needed. Two huge things for me that I've picked up on. And then another thing that I've learned after talking, this required a lot of talking to my male counterparts, my friends, and my partner in life, is I have a lot of my life has been driven by emotion and feelings. And that is a very much a female woman thing to do. We're driven by hormones. But what I've learned is Sometimes it's just facts. Sometimes there are just facts and they're just being presented to us as facts. It's up to us to break it all down and determine how it matters in our lives. It doesn't have to include feelings. It doesn't have to hurt. It doesn't have to feel wonderful. It doesn't have to feel any kind of way. This is just the information. So how are we going to deal with it? How are we going to handle it? And most of the time when you're in a relationship or you're dealing with someone else who is just dealing with and handling the facts, they just want the facts. Tying in the emotions and the feelings complicates things and makes it that much harder to handle. For example, if my husband comes to me and says, can you please help me with the dishes? It's been so long and, we just haven't been on top of it. I could be like, well, I've been so busy. There's so much going on. I'm pregnant. I'm so tired. I need my naps. I'm sorry that it's fallen behind, and get really defensive, which I have before. I am all open about that because growing up, I just learned to get defensive about everything because I felt like everything was an attack on me. I've learned that that's not the case anymore. But if someone is just presenting us with the facts and they want to try and help, sometimes they want to try and help. But the point is, the facts, we can face the facts and say, you're right. Oh my goodness, it's really fallen behind. How can we work together? Or would you mind handling it this time for me? And I promise I'll get it next time. Or I'll definitely do it tonight. Find a solution. A lot of times it's as simple as just finding a solution and then we're done. It doesn't have to drag on. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be magnificent. It just needs to be handled. When we don't tie our emotions to it, it makes things so much easier. Now, that's a very simple example. There are other things that can get more complicated, but the point being is when you're presented with facts, how can we get to a resolution without tying feelings and emotions to it? So another thing that I've learned that bears repeating is so important because I find myself still to this day after practice sometimes getting lost in the overthinking of things, of really anything. And at the end of the day, what matters is your action. What matters is your consistency. What matters is what you actually put into practice, because you can sit there and ruminate on it and think about it all day, no matter what it is, from something really hard to something really simple, and nothing gets done. Nothing gets accomplished. When it sits in your brain, it's there and it just clogs up space and it stresses you out. And it goes back to that heavy feeling that I talked about. Do not overthink things. You have the answers to exactly everything that you need. Take the action, do it, and you will come out the other end feeling so much lighter because you know that it's done. You don't have to worry about it. A lot of times it really helps to put space in your calendar to say cleaning time. Once you understand what cleaning is, so for me moving into our new place, cleaning is I have these list of things like the bathroom closet, my closet, the part of the garage, these drawers that I have to handle. So anything that falls into the cleaning category, if I have on my calendar cleaning for 30 minutes or for an hour, I know I have a list that I can knock out. So any part of my list within those 30 minutes, awesome. I feel great. And I don't have to overthink it. I don't have to think about what I have to do within that hour of cleaning. If it's an hour of productivity for my business or an hour of productivity for the kids, maybe learning and preparing for the next year, or if it's an hour of growth and I want to read or I want to listen to a podcast. If you put it into your calendar, whatever that major category is, and you have your own lists of what each breakdown covers, for example, the growth, I can read a book, I can listen to a podcast that I love, or maybe I added a show that I wanted to watch. By the way, Atlas of the Heart from Brene Brown has been really good. I've seen the first episode only, so I need to finish the other ones. But things like that, when you have it categorized and it's in your calendar, you can just look at it. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to think about what I need to start with first and reprioritize because you already know what you can attack and accomplish. So overthinking, I can't stress that enough. Do not overthink things. You have all of the answers. You have all of the solutions. Just go get it done. The action is so much more important. The last thing that I want to touch on that I have learned just in these years of seeing and dealing with people and growth is a lot of times our brain will make things so much more complicated than what it really needs to be. It goes back to my second point of we create stories in our heads of how things will play out, how things will happen, how another person will react, how they will handle something if we bring up information that's important. For example, if there is a problem with an order or a transaction, and I'm so afraid that my client is going to react badly because I'm missing what I need in order to accomplish some work, but we're approaching the deadline. Call them up, handle it, take care of it, find a solution. The longer we sit on it, it causes that overthinking that I just mentioned, but also our brain comes up with so many different stories that just drives us, that has the ability to drive us insane. And then we are feeling even smaller. We're taking steps back. We're shrinking because we're like, oh my goodness, what if they do this? What if they do that? There are so many what ifs that our brain will take us through because it's trying to protect us. When the reality is we face a situation, we bring the information to this person, we have enough respect for them to give them as much notice as we can, even if it is really late. It's better than the next day as we sit there and brew on it, right? So instead of allowing our brain to tell all of these false stories, instead of ruminating on what we don't know and all of the what ifs, go ahead and handle it. The sooner you can handle something, the better it's going to be. Always. The more time we have to deal with the situation, the more time we have from when we have to actually handle it, the better. That causes less overthinking. That causes less projection, less storytelling, less assumptions, gives you more brain space to do other important things, to have fun. You don't have to worry about that one thing on a constant minute by minute basis, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month. Handle it, right? So let's see if I can recall all of that. So the first thing is understanding there are seasons in life, seasons for you, seasons for everyone else. Do not go into any situation judging yourself harshly or anyone else because you don't know what season of life they're in. And it no matter how you deal with someone, that moment is not who they are. That's not their lifetime of experiences. So give them the benefit of the doubt and allow them to share more of themselves before you make a quick judgment. And the second thing is just listening and being there without assuming that the person who is coming to you needs advice or anything that involves finding an answer. Just being there and listening is huge. The third thing is removing emotions and feelings, just dealing with the logical answers or the facts that you're faced with and finding a solution from there is so much easier when you don't incorporate feelings and emotions into it, even though it's, for me, especially as a woman, that's sometimes really tough. But as I've learned to separate my feelings and my emotions from the way that my partner communicates with me or when I'm presented with information, it has really helped me to better handle myself and better handle those relationships. And the communication factor has very much improved. So then the fourth thing, don't overthink things. Just take the action. Don't allow your brain to marinate on it. You have the answers, so go ahead and do the thing. The fifth thing is your brain is always going to tell you that things, no matter what it is, are going to take a lot longer or it's going to be a lot harder than what it has to be. So instead of giving it time to fester, deal with it now. Handle it as soon as you can. Take care of that hard conversation. This last point is very similar to point number 4, in which don't overthink it. Just do it. Just take that action. But also don't let your brain tell you that it's going to be something very, very hard, or you end up not doing anything, or you end up taking longer than you should. So I hope all of this has been beneficial to you in some way. If it has been helpful, please don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends. Let them know that I'm here to be fully supportive of you, and make sure you connect with me on social media. I want to get the conversation going, continue the conversation. If you have any questions at all, anything you'd like to further discuss, I'm happy to do it. And I look forward to talking to you again very soon. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode. Let's get inspired.
Thank you so much for joining me for another powerful conversation on all things positive, inspiring, enlightening, and powerful in relation to love, life, and business. I hope that you took something really important away from this conversation. Maybe you'll be able to take some action. But if you're not ready to end the conversation here, don't forget you can always join me on social media. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube at Inspired Lolibu. That's Inspired Lolibu for love, life, and business. Thank you so much again for listening. I so appreciate your support, and I'd love to know your thoughts and comments. Leave them below or send me an email at Nhin, Nhin, at rainbowreveal.com. I will read every single email that comes in, and I am always on social in my comment section and replying and showing love. Again, like I always say to my community and to my tribe, I love and support each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being here and supporting me. We'll see you next time.